Hi everyone, I'm Saleha and this is Chai, Chat and Community. Tonight, we meet the women of the Multicultural Women's Alliance Against Family Violence. But before I introduce you to these amazing ladies, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting tonight and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello, ladies. Dr. Sabika Pelis, Supriya Singh, and Veena Barsiwal. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm really looking forward to this very, very exciting and informative chat with you people. Thank you for coming. So, do you want to take turns and introduce yourself first? And then we talk about the work that we are doing in this space. Sabi, you want to go first?
Yeah, that's thank you, Saleha, and hi, thank you everyone who joined us live at this stage of the day, wherever you are. I welcome you all as well. My name is Dr. Sabi Kaple. I am the chairperson of Multicultural Women's Alliance Against Family Violence, and it is my pleasure to be with you all this evening.
Thank you, Sabi. Supriya?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Aleha. I'm a sociologist of money and I'm a writer. And only when I was doing my research, I recognized that I was also a victim survivor.
Thank you. Veena?
I'm Dr. Veena Barsiwal, and I'm somebody who is following her heart, and I've been working as a counselor for the last few years, helping women and children facing domestic violence. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. So, Sabi, do you want to tell us why you joined the alliance? And or before that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think going back to how Supriya started, because I'm also a researcher and I come from a really patriarchal society where women was always treated as second-class citizens. And I think from my childhood, I did have a dream of to see women as equal to men. Myself to see as equal to my brothers. And I wanted all women to grow with the proud, not seeing any differences in the way they've been told what to do. And that stays as a passion in my heart. So I have been an advocate for gender equality from the day where I felt I was not equal to everyone else in the society, especially with, boys as growing up. So I carry that vision and passion growing up, and I still carry that vision. So when I came to Australia, I had a dream that this is an equal country, which wasn't the case. And I saw more discriminations than what I used to see in my village back home. And I see that, there is a lot to be done. And I believe that we can change this. If not today, maybe for tomorrow, for our daughters or young girls, so they can feel equal and they can live the life they dream for. So that was the reason that we come together as a passionate woman, and we decided to form this alliance because when it comes to women from other cultures, whether they call multicultural or women of color or women from other countries or migrants or refugees, we live with too many different layers in the societies and we get further victimized. So we want to change that by advocating to the policies and the systems and the government and also the service providers that shouldn't be the case. So that was the whole purpose of we forming this alliance, to bring those voices together so we can create the change for women to feel safe and to live free from family violence.
Thank you. Supriya, why did you join the alliance?
Well, it actually came from my research. I'm a sociologist of money, and for the last 30 years, I've been studying money as a medium, as a medium of care in the Anglo-Celtic and in the Indian communities in Australia. And in 2016, when the report came out of the Royal Commission, I looked back at my own data and found that, the joint account, which is a medium of care, of togetherness in Anglo-Celtic marriage, if it's not accompanied by the morality of togetherness and consultation, it becomes like a designer-made medium for appropriating a woman's money. And then for a long time in my study of Indian money and migration and family, I had seen remittances as a moral act. I had myself, like many of us, sent money home and thought it was a very important part of our culture and a way of showing care for the family. But then I found that men were actually sometimes in secret, sometimes not, sending money home to their family, nearly all their money without consultation, and sometimes the woman's money without consultation, so that the women and children were denied money. But worse still, when they were preparing to divorce the woman, they were sequestering money in India. And I thought this was something that we do not understand, and we need this deep understanding. So I'm hoping, like Sabi said, but I'm hoping that in this alliance, women of different cultures will help us deeply understand their culture, and we can learn how they have succeeded or failed, so that we don't have to keep on reinventing the wheel. We need to talk to each other. And of course, being with passionate young women is a real plus. Thank you.
Thanks, Supriya. Veena, what made you join?
My self-coined motto for life is the joy of living through the joy of loving. And so, in that context, I really strive. I want to make a positive difference to these women's lives. And that is what the Alliance allows me to in so many different ways. And counseling, of course, is one field of mine, and this could be another way to advocate for them and to bring about those changes so that they can lead a more productive and fulfilling life. And that's the aim, to improve the quality of their lives. And like Sabi said, she talked about the layers, different layers. So we as multicultural women are able to see those layers, and we are able to see how those layers need to be treated, or how they need to be managed so that the lives of these people can really improve. So yeah, that's what I
Thank
feel.
you. Thanks, Veena. I'll tell you why I joined. Um, I was working in this organization about 10 years ago, and one of my colleagues kept talking about how she had to wake up early morning to make breakfast for her husband who was leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then make breakfast for the whole family, and then cook lunch. And then she was, when she was at work, she was on her feet all day. And when she went back home, she had to make chai for everybody and dinner, and this continued and continued. And although she lived with her in-laws, nobody helped her. In fact, she said one day it was raining, and the mother-in-law picked up her mother-in-law's and father-in-law's clothes, but left her and her husband's and her children's clothes out in the rain. So I said to her, "Do you realize this is family violence?" And she was like, "Not at all, because, my husband's so nice, but he would never support her, never talk about, and she had no idea that this is something that we also call family violence. It's not always physical. And then during the pandemic, I kept reading about all these women who were going through family violence because their partners were at home and they didn't know how to get out. And that's how my chai chat and community came up, because all these women were just so vulnerable but could not even make a phone call. And it's not just Indian women or Pakistani women or any South Asian women, it's everyone. I have also heard that people who live in Brighton and come in fancy cars come to drop their children with marks on their faces. So
Can
this was
I,
shared.
Hmm.
So
Can I tap on to your comment, Saleha? I think it's a really important issue that we all live. Is actually the working women are living with the double and triple burden of life, and which is true because we have to go through all motherhood, um, the stages of life, and all the domestic chores that's granted, take responsibilities for parents and parenting, and also the same the work responsibilities like you their full-time job. We 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 have a really wide gender pay gap in
oh
this
yes,
country. Yeah,
absolutely.
that's the another thing. We are always victims, and we live with double and triple burden of daisy life, and we still having to manage everything and be perfect,
And be the
and which is,
superwoman, absolutely.
yeah.
The super wife,
So
the super mother, the super daughter-in-law, the super daughter. It's like so much of expectations out of us.
And Saleh, the example you mentioned, Saleha, is like about our deep-rooted beliefs that the mother-in-law, it's in a way, it's not even her fault. She has such conditioning, such deep-rooted beliefs that she doesn't see the daughter-in-law as another human. If both of them, the son and the daughter-in-law, are going to office, both of them are going to get tired. But that concept is not there. So yeah, so things need to change there at the social level, and that is what we all are trying to do.
Well, I hope we can, we teach the women and we teach the women to teach their sons, because I think mothers play a huge role in bringing up their children.
Definitely.
So, so, so Priya, do you want to tell us about the alliance's mission, vision, and goals? Or for that matter,
Well,
anyone who wants to talk about it, and you jump in.
well, I think in a nutshell, we are an advocacy organization. And like all of us are saying, the main aim is to help women from different cultures to live a life which is free of family violence. But just picking up on the conversation, sometimes we don't know that we are suffering family violence. You might say, oh, my relationship is not good, or the pressures of migration are too hard. It's very difficult being in a different culture, and of course it is, because one of the things that happens with migration in the early stages, you get isolated. And being isolated is one of the main strategies of coercive control in family violence. Because, and then, sometimes you kind of say, well, I'm not feeling so, don't have enough confidence. I feel quite stupid. And this is also true of professional women who have had managerial jobs in their own countries or highfalutin jobs. And they come over here and they say, all of a sudden, I feel a bit stupid. But this is also a tactic of coercive control for usually the man exercising it on the woman to say, look, it's your fault. If you were a good mother, in the interviews, the women say, the man says, didn't your mother teach you how to cook? Don't you even know how to clean? You know, you're looking so fat. How can I possibly go with you? You're not attractive. And you look at the woman and you wonder how she could possibly believe that. But this is gaslighting, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, and this whole business of trying to teach a woman financial literacy, and Saleha and I, we've talked about it a little bit. Half the women I interviewed were women who were the main earners in the home. And the women with little money are the ones who are calculating whether they can have one cappuccino a month, $4.50, whether they can spend. They're very good budgeters. What I think helps, and I learned this from an Anglo Celtic woman that I interviewed, what helps is if we ourselves, and I'm talking of economic abuse because I study money, if we ourselves can articulate and reflect on what we want to achieve in life and how we want to use money as a medium for freedom, and look at the way our parents have done it, whether we want to follow them or not. And then you must talk to your partner about how he or she has grown up, what their vision is. And it's a very intimate thing to do. And if you can't do it, you must rethink partnership. I mean, you learn this after you make a lot of mistakes, but it's a very difficult thing to do, and it differs across cultures how you do it. And even if you do it, you may not be heard. And so that's why it's very difficult to understand that, when you're supposed to take care of the house or alone, this is abuse, yeah, because you're conditioned. But if you know what you want, you can recognize control, coercion, you can recognize it, and you can leave early. Some of us who did not leave early had to stay a long time waiting for the children to go to school so you could go into paid work. I mean, I was one of
So
those.
how do you leave when you don't have anything? Where do you
That's right.
go?
Exactly. How do you leave? And so you have to think about this. I always tell women, the young women in my life, how are you going to be financially independent? They keep saying, oh, I want to marry so and so. And say, hey, how are you going to be financially independent? You are earning. Are you buying a piece of land? You know, you have to think about these things. And I think mothers have to talk to their daughters and sons, exactly what you said. But you see, the problem is we don't know how we do it in our culture, but we don't know how others do it.
And again, the dilemma is, Supriya, that even if you earn, do women actually leave? Like Saleh has given an example. You have given. I am reminded of a client who uh, she works in a bank and she transfers thousands of dollars. But at home, when she transfers even $50, she's so scared. I'll make a mistake. I'll make a mistake. That sort of a thing. So she's not leaving. She just wants the relationship to work.
Where
And
she's
that is
not
where,
recognizing economic abuse there.
yeah,
Can
she
I
is.
just throw a different, the different, because they are great examples. But I think in terms of going back to, yes, we talk about women, we talk about families, we talk about house. I know that's the first point in place. That's the most unsafe place for women when we talk about family violence. But I also see it's really important that we look at from systemic level as well, because what happens is, when this happens is women in, from other cultures, there is that systemic tokenistic further victim blaming view that, oh yes, oh yeah, Indian women, it happens all the time in their relationship with families, or oh yeah, South Asians or African women. So even the service providers and people in
But
the
Sabi, it's
policy
not
and
only
system
South
levels.
Asians, and
No,
that
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
isn't
It's
it?
not only
That's a
South
broad
Asian,
generalization.
because it's a cross-cutting issues, because it is when the family violence comes, it doesn't say color, it doesn't say cultures, it doesn't say, we were rich or poor, because it's a cross-cutting issues. It happens in the same way for the same cause for everyone. What I'm trying to say is, because women get further victimized by service providers, policymakers, and system, rather than getting that support, which is, the appropriate or culturally responsive support, because women are already a victim. They want compassion, care, respect, and trust. And there is no trust because there is no one to trust to. Even if they go to family violence services, they might get
Or the
asked
police,
stupid
or the
questions.
police. And this is what
Yes.
Supriya and I were talking about yesterday. That I was at an event at one of the LGAs, and there were lots of police people and lots of women who were there. And on each table there was a police sitting, and next to me there were two Afghan ladies and a Pacifica lady, and they were talking about family violence, and all three of them said they would never go to a police because the police are the worst, and they are either, shaming the victim and not believing in them, or in the case of Afghans, they were like, we have never gone to the police in our country, so they are not the first people that we will go to. There was also an Indian woman there, and she said in a lot of cases, if it's an Indian or Indian policeman who come to their house, if they complain about family violence, chances are the police person, it's normally a man, who would know the perpetrator and say, adjust kar lo. So police would be
Yes.
the first point that when you dial 000, you would call the police. But you know uh, I'm not talking about Caucasian, but for people from the called communities, for us, police in our countries are not someone that we trust, so it does not come to us naturally to call the police. And when the police do come, and then you get victim shamed for what you're going through, as it is, you're in a bad state, and then the police turns around and blames you. It is not easy.
No, and the legal system is the same because it takes ages for the legal custody to be clear, and women get exhausted by then. And
Absolutely.
in the case if children are involved, that becomes further traumatic. So I think still when you were talking about why this alliance, because we also would like to, the system and policies to be right. So it's that needs to start. That needs to be community focused. That needs to work in a way that what women really want and what women really need. Because
But Sabi, I think you're really right.
and women don't trust.
Yeah, Sabi, I think you're right. Family violence hits women at all levels, of every color, every social stratum. But where I think women who are not of the dominant culture lose out in Australia is that, the cultural signs of family violence can be very different. All right, let me tell you, if I ever hear an Indian woman say that my mother-in-law has taken my jewelry away, right? It's a real red flag, because I know it's not just the money of it, it's the symbolism. This is jewelry that goes from mother to daughter, from grandmother to
Yes.
granddaughter.
It's
Something she
generations
will give,
sometimes.
yes, something she will give to her daughters.
Yep.
And if you take the jewelry, but if somebody who does not know this, because women don't come up to you and say, I'm suffering family violence, right? They come up to a lot of the organizations and say, we need emergency funding, we need a job, I need a loan. Uh, and it's only when you probe, you find out there's something else under it. So some of these triggers are telling that unless you know the culture, you won't get it. If a woman says, he's sending so much money home, but if I ask him, he gets angry and says, what business is it of yours? And the whole community, I mean, if you speak Punjabi, they say, oh, the bada biba rana, and he's a lovely guy, he's such a good son, and you live with it. But if now they tell me that, I will probe more. Uh, so, people don't come with a little label on their head that they're suffering family violence. And the risk assessment tick charts even don't work for us. So they don't understand it. And also, we ourselves don't understand that we are suffering family violence often. I mean, a lot of the women I interviewed only called the police when they thought they were about to die, when it became physical.
So I guess one of the ways to recognize whether, and like Saleha was talking about it earlier, that how do I know I'm facing domestic violence? So from what Supriya is saying, do I like my partner? When I say like, it is like as a person, because the people might say, oh, he's such a gentleman. And in my experience, what I have seen with my clients is so many of them, or most of them, would say, in front of the police, in front of the other people, he is just a gentleman. He's like too good to be true, sort of, it's very.
There is always an inside face and an outside face.
Mm.
Right.
And so the question the lady needs to ask is that, do I like him? Because we are conditioned to be loyal and to love the person, even if we don't like them. Because slowly, when you get married, some time passes and you realize he's not good to me. That much we can realize, right? Whether we label it as domestic violence or not, but that much we know. But we still keep on loving him. I have so many clients, and they're like, I still love him. And that's because we are conditioned. Oh, this is once in a lifetime thing, and I have to carry on. I have to adjust. Now, what does adjustment mean, and
Adjust.
how far is it adjustment, and when does it become abuse and suppression or slavery? So that is an individual, a personalized thing which each woman has to understand as they grow up, to recognize how to recognize. And we won't have the time to get into all that, but yes, that would be
We
an
will
interesting
we
topic
will
to.
have time in a couple of weeks. But I want to ask is, why do we need culturally appropriate refuges for women? I'll let whoever wants to answer that.
I think I will start going back to Venus' point. It was really, really great example of, the love and liking, and and that's I call from my research perspective, like Supriya said, it's a construct that we are conditioned to live, which is set by the culture and expectations that, as a woman or as a girl, I'm supposed to be like this. And that's where, when does it become a violence? Because it's a culturally defined relationships that most women in across the culture live with, because it defines differently in different cultures, and it has a different set of expectations. And when we are trained and conditioned with that different set of expectations, the women don't really know which is the tipping point. So I think that's where the clear delineations to make is, the Western textbook definitions of violence may not actually work for the women from different culture, because cultural definitions of relationship are set differently. So I think the first starting point is to have that culturally accepted understanding of what does the relationship look like, and when do women know, or when in a relationship either man or woman will know it's not working, and it has to be a two-way conversations. In a way, if works, that would be the best, but if it doesn't. So going back to your question, Saleha, in terms of culturally responsive refugees, as I was talking about trust in the system, that's the same thing. Because if women live with the fear of, or will I be protected in a way I would like to be? If there is a children as well, will that be, treated in a way that I like my children to be treated? They're not going to go there. And it's need to be culturally accessible so women feel emotionally safe. I'm not talking, okay, there will be securities or the closed buildings, maybe physically safe, but what's important is, because being abused or the relationship not working, it's already a really big traumatic thing. And then going to a place which is they don't feel belong to or emotionally safe creates further trauma, and which is the case at the moment. So
Yeah.
women might go for 2 or 3 and they come back, they say no, and they come back to the same partner. So I think it's really important that it has to be culturally safe for women so they can live not only physically, emotionally safe as well. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
further
think.
to yeah, further to what Sabi has said, I'll give a quick example of a client. So after my first session with her, she said that I have felt understood, heard and understood after 14 years. So it's not that she wasn't being helped. She could speak English fluently. So they were helping her. they could understand her words, but they could not understand the meaning behind her words. Like culturally, what did it mean when she made the choices that she made? So what happened, to answer your question, Saleha, that she didn't feel supported enough to stay in the refuge, went back to the husband, and you guessed it right. Life became so much harder because once you come out and you go back, it's like every day becomes worse and worse. And now
Yes.
she's on the verge of losing her children to him, to this abuser who is an abusive husband and father. So that's why we need the culturally specific refuge.
We are running out of time, so we are going to Parliament on the 7th. So,
Thank you.
so Priya, you want to talk about our event and what we hope to achieve? And ladies, it's open to all of you.
Yes. Well, our event is really a platform for multiple voices from many cultures. So, and from
And
different
may I
areas.
interrupt here and say we are sold out, which is the best news we could have. In like less than a week of opening, it is sold out.
Yes. But I think there's reason because we have a person coming who's an expert in health and family violence. We have an Afghani lawyer coming who is a community advocate. We have a South Sudanese young woman coming who studies in this area and speaks for her community. And we have somebody from the police coming who I hope will answer the question, how can we trust you? So it starts a conversation. And I think that's absolutely important. We keep saying that, the Anglo Celtic cultures, that they don't understand us, but we also need to understand each other. And I think that's the excitement for me.
Because our panelists are people from different cultures. It's not any one ethnicity, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to understand. We hope some friendships will develop.
Hope so. Veena, you want to talk about the event and how excited we all are,
Yes,
how it's sold
definitely.
out and people are on wait list?
Yes, people are on waitlist. Like you have mentioned, and Supriya has so nicely put it, and she has described different people who are coming on the panel. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Sabi, we'll end with you, the chairperson.
Yeah, so I just want yes, we are sold out, but you can like us in a Facebook, follow us in a LinkedIn, and also follow us in Facebook. If more tickets becomes available, we will announce it there and we'll share it there. So
And
it's
it
a
is a
matter
free
of going
event.
to the
So I think we
parliament.
need to tell people that it is a free event.
Yeah, yeah, so we're going to the parliament because we also want to start a political dialogue for culturally responsive services and resources in Victoria because it's not enough. And the way it has been invested so far is not getting to the people it needs or the community it needs. So it's the way that we can reach to the front bench is a local voices from the community voices. So we want to make a different buzz to the parliament, and we will keep you posted from the Facebook page. We got Multicultural Women's Alliance Against Family Violence. We also have a LinkedIn with the same name, and you can email us as well if you have any private questions or would like to know more. And the membership will be open soon, and we will post that in our social media page as well. So thank you. Thank you for being with us tonight. And it's a pleasure. And we look forward to continue conversations in this topic. And we really hope that each woman and girls, wherever they are in this country or around the globe, will have opportunities and confidence to live free from violence.
And
Thank you.
may we raise really strong women.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. It has been an
Thank you
absolute
for having
pleasure
us.
having you
Yes.
with us, with me, and all of you ladies. I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.